Jameela Jamil. Harry's wife's friend, part 8. We now turn to an article in yourtango.com written on the February 13th, 2020 by Bernadette Giacomelso. The headline is, Who is Jameela Jamil's mum, Shireen Jamil? Why controversial actress hasn't spoken to her parents in years. Jameela Jamil is an actress and presenter who, as of late, has come under fire for a series of controversial statements she's made about her sexuality because she was accused of having Munchausen syndrome, a psychological disorder characterized by its sufferer behaving as though they're sick when in reality they are not. Of course, Jameela Jamil has denied the claims outright. Denial? Nullification of threat to control? Since Jameela Jamil has made the news for myriad reasons lately, it's prompted people to ask, who is Jameela Jamil's mum? Unfortunately, they don't have the best relationship in the world and haven't spoken in years. Sound like anybody we know? Is this familial discord? And is it as a consequence of a nullification of threat to control by shelving or disengaging that individual? So who is Shireen Jamil? What caused the family rift? And why is her daughter slamming her? Thanks to Shireen Jamil's efforts as a domestic violence survivors advocate, she was able to get a law passed in the United Kingdom called Shireen's Law. This law now puts no time limit on the reporting of domestic violence in the United Kingdom, which upended the previous law of a 6-month time limit. Shireen Jamil claimed that her ex-husband victimised her for several years before she finally found the courage to leave in the mid-1990s. However, she didn't report the abuse until 2013, the year before Shireen's Law was passed. Shireen Jamil also shares a lot of updates about various domestic violence survivors' advocacy cases on her Twitter page, and is quick to interact with both her own supporters and her daughter's supporters as well. Could this be an individual who was subjected to the behaviour of a narcissist, i.e. her husband, which therefore suggests that there is a genetic predisposition in the family, and also that Jameela Jamil grew up in a lack of control environment because of the violence that was being meted out towards her mother. According to Jameela Jamil, her mother was incredibly fat-phobic when she was a child. Might that be another form of lack of control environment that Jameela Jamil has been subjected to? Jameela Jamil claimed that while she was going through a bout of anorexia, her mother was not supportive at all. In fact, she claimed her mother insisted that it was more important to have her jeans hang off her hip bones. Because of this lack of support, Jameela Jamil claims she no longer speaks to her mother. This might be a legitimate response to the way that she is being treated, or it could be that this is Jameela Jamil's revision of history with regard to the relationship with her mother, and that she utilises as a justification for asserting control over her mother by not speaking to her. Despite being reportedly estranged from her daughter, Shireen Jamil has shown solidarity with her. In an exclusive photo shoot designed specifically for a dating app for people aged 50 and older, Shireen Jamil appeared in a series of unretouched photos that even showed some of the scars she still had as a result of the abuse she endured for years. And Nandas Daizantai is Shireen Jamil's son and Jameela Jamil's half-brother. He is in his early 40s, a poet, and by his own admission suffers from a series of mental health issues. He made the news in his native Hampstead, a town in England, when he was reunited with his beloved writing desk. He also wrote a book called Literate, which is described as a memoir in which I've grappled with everything from mental illness to romantic frustration, from mysticism to homelessness. Yasmin Quarashi was 80 years old when she died. Quarashi was Shireen Jamil's mother, and when she died she was found to be suffering from the deadly norovirus. As a result of this discovery, Shireen Jamil called for an investigation into her mother's death. It is unclear, however, what the result of the investigation concluded. Thanks to Shireen Jamil's efforts, Shireen's Law not only puts no time limit on when domestic violence victims can file their complaint against their abusers, but it's now become a crime for bullies to psychologically terrorise their victims. So it would appear from this short article that at the very least Jameela Jamil's father was a bully and an abuser, which would support most likely being a narcissist, which suggests that a genetic predisposition could have been passed on to the daughter, and that the environment in which Jameela Jamil found herself, both in terms of perhaps witnessing that abusive environment and also potentially a response from her mother, who might be a narcissist herself or was perhaps reacting through a reduction in emotional empathy as a consequence of the abuse that she was receiving in a particular way, which further added to a lack of control environment for her daughter, so that we have that classic axis of a genetic predisposition towards narcissism allied with a lack of control environment. Shireen Jamil is particularly active on Twitter. She has 2,500 followers, but 23,000 tweets, and shows various pictures about retweeting about depression, and recently, a year or two ago, talking about being interviewed and discussing years of domestic abuse. She makes reference to Shireen's Law back in August 2021, posts pictures of her daughter and son, stating, "Oh, how I miss and yearn for those years." And back in July 2020, "Today I remembered after 2 years what it felt like to smile again. It was seeing my beloved son and all the outpouring of love and good wishes from all of you sent my way. Thank you also very, very much for your overwhelming kindness." Then in July 2020, "May I please ask no one to follow me if they're doing so only to post cruel tweets about my daughter and I. It's very distressing for me and does my mental health tremendous damage. I've been inundated with mean tweets this past week, which has taken its toll of me. Thank you." It would appear that her mother is indeed a victim of abuse and campaigned against that. And the evidence supports that this would likely mean that her husband, if it's correct that he engaged in what he did, that he was the narcissist, and therefore there's the potential for a genetic predisposition to be passed down, but not guaranteed to Jameela Jamil, and also supports the existence of a lack of control environment. There's also, however, the suggestion that Shireen Jamil herself is not entirely innocent. That might be the case that she is, and she's been unfairly smeared by her daughter with regard to being fat-phobic. So it might be a case that we have a situation of two narcissists colliding, and therefore both parents were, one taking to the world to bleat about the abuse that she suffered and to take action in that regard, very much playing the victim. Or it might be that she is indeed the victim and has suffered abuse not only from her ex-spouse, but is also again doing so from her daughter by providing her with shelving, possibly disengagement, elongated silent treatments, and smearing through labelling the behaviour. Either way, all of this does present us with more evidence with regard to what Jameela Jamil may well be. Next, in part 9, we look at the material that was unearthed by a particular individual comparing what Jameela Jamil has said in the past about her ill health and injuries. It's very illuminating.